Hey everyone, it's Karma again. Just when you thought you could shake me. So yeah, this is the Battle of Olympus. We'll just go ahead and get right into it. We've definitely got a lot of time to explain things. Where's my... Oh, whoops, we're not at 1638, that was my Kokoron. Here we go. Alright, so hey everyone, welcome to the Battle of Olympus, aka... I saw somebody say, The Adventure of Rambo Zero. Yeah, that sounds about right. You'll notice it is very much like Zelda 2, and that is very much intentional. We'll get into that a little bit later. But for now, we actually need 130 total olives to complete the game. So we're going to hang out here and olive farm for a little bit. Whoops. Slimes, be nice, please. Let me through. Oh my god. It's gonna be one of those times, huh? Basically, there are 6 enemies on this screen, and if we stack them up correctly, they remember the X position that they died on, and we can get them all clumped up like this, and farm 6 enemies at a time. Oh, come on. Please, die over here. Sometimes it takes a few kills of the entire clump. Oh my gosh. It's taking me a moment to get this set up here. There we go. Okay, so for reasons that I'll explain during the next olive farm, we basically split up the olive farm into 3 segments. The first time we'll be getting 45 olives, and then 45 olives the next, and then 40 for the final. So, with how this game is very much like Zelda 2, this game came out about a year after Zelda 2, and it was basically made by a husband and wife with the help of the River City Ransom composer. And it was kind of just like their passion project because they really loved Zelda 2. There's a really good article on it. I highly recommend looking for the interview on the making of this game. But yeah, they basically just tried to take Zelda 2 and put it in kind of a Greek setting. We've got 15 olives to go here. We will be doing literally that, except to answer Shiner's question of how we're going to be fighting Invisible Boss, we will absolutely be doing that. Stay tuned. So for the 130 olives that we'll be spending the entire time, 60 of those olives will be used on the ocarina, which is directly required to finish the game. The other 70 will be used on the Divine Sword, which is not required to finish the game, but it's the human possible way to finish the game. Fiesel and I, a long time ago, tried to make a really good run at figuring out if we could do it without the Divine Sword, but yeesh, it's not... it's not great. So right off the bat here, we're going to head over to Zeus's place, now that we have 45 olives, jump over a bowl casually. Because, you know, our buddy Orpheus here can do that. Oh, what's up, Zeus? So Zeus here actually activates the rest of the gods. Before we talk to Zeus, none of the other gods will actually talk to us. So Zeus is absolutely the first god you need to talk to no matter what. Oops, well, that was an unfortunate hit to take. But not a huge deal. Okay, so next we're gonna head over to Argolis, and theoretically our goal when we're there is to go see Hermes, but as you can probably imagine by my use of the word theoretically, it's not gonna quite pan out like that. No, Zeus is our friend! Zeus is on our side. We need him. So yeah, a lot of this game is kind of just traveling between different regions to get to your next destination, which it's kind of neat how this whole game creates like a cohesive world map. So here's Argolis, a cavey region. We're just gonna jump through a bunch of bats and snakes. Leave these bats to not hit us. Yo, we got the swag jump! Let's go! Basically, that bat that was above that snake can do a really fast dive and block us from making the first jump, which just means that we take a hit and have to just re-jump. Oh no, that's actually not great, but that's fine. As long as we don't die. Thankfully, we'll be doing another olive farm here, so in case anybody wasn't satisfied enough with my first olive farm right at the beginning of the game, we'll have another chance here to get some more olives. It's actually pretty convenient that this screen right here is where it is, because we literally pass by here basically 3 times. Or near it 3 times at least. So we're just gonna get all these enemies stacked up. I'm not picking them up so I can see where I killed them. Okay. Now we pick them up and we just kind of inch along slowly. You can see them kind of spawning in the top right there. Drop them down. So the reason why we actually kill these in 3 different sessions instead of like 2, or getting them all at once, first of all, you can only carry up to 99 olives, so we can't buy both items with 1 trip worth of olives. But there's also kind of an RNG mechanic that adjusts your olive rates and tries to encourage you to explore. Basically, after 100 total drops between bay leaves and olives, bay leaves are the health items, your drop rates get cut from 1/4 to 1/8. So, at most, you'd probably want to be getting about 50 olives in a session. Nice. And yeah, so we really want to make sure we split it up. I've found that 45, 45, 40 seems to be a good way to split up the olive grind. And we're actually getting some pretty sick luck here. Not that I should ever comment on that. But each of these loops here, I have a chance to get anywhere from 1 to 6. And we were getting a lot of like 5s and 4s there. I shouldn't have said anything. Anyway, to reset your RNG in the area, you basically need to go to another region. So by going from Arcadia here to Argolis and back, we effectively reset our luck and can do another olive grind. The nectar goes into your flask, which we'll be getting later. The drops that we get from enemies that restore health are the bay leaves. But yes, maximum health upgrades are Ambrosia. We'll be getting a whopping total of 1 Ambrosia this run. And we'll be doing this entire game on 12 health. Alright, so here's Zeus. And we're gonna grab a... or not Zeus, but here's Hermes, who is visiting Zeus. We're gonna grab some sandals. And these sandals let us jump much higher. And in some screens, we actually get to flip gravity. At will. Which is pretty rad. I'll go ahead and show it off here. Look at that. You get to do that in too many games. We Metal Storm now. Well, both of those bats did, like, the thing that they normally don't do, so we're off to a great start here. So here's a maze forest. It's only like 3 screens of a maze, so it's not too bad, even casually. But it still can be a bit of a pain. We're gonna damage boost through that brush there. Normally we're supposed to have the Staff of Fennel and burn that down with fire. Can you fall into the sky? No. It basically, as soon as you hit the top of the screen, it flips gravity back down to the bottom. So here's Hydra. It takes 8 hits. And it just basically kind of keeps jumping at us. And with any luck, it'll hopefully stay locked in this pattern. Nope. I just had to speak. Sometimes Hydra can be a bit of a jerk. Now that we've rescued the fairies here from Hydra, we can use the fairy sword, which basically just does double the damage of our club, and is super handy. When you're playing this casually, it's actually, you have the Staff of Fennel, which does 1.5 times the damage of the club, but it has the ability to shoot fire. So if you're playing this casually, you're probably going to be switching a lot between the sword and the Staff of Fennel. Even though it does a little bit less damage, the fire shot is really handy. Alright, gonna do left one and then left one. And because I don't trust myself fully, I'm gonna go ahead and grab a password here. We should be okay, but I just want to be absolutely safe. Oh, so I should probably talk about death in this game. If you die, you get 2 options, continue and retry. If you hit continue, you spawn at the last entrance to the area that you entered from. Also, here's some Ambrosia. That upgrades our maximum health. But if you hit retry, it takes you back to the last password. Here's Cyclops, only the sword can damage it. So basically we need to be stopping by gods frequently to get passwords in a marathon safe run. Here's Laconia, very dangerous area. We hit the bottom of that pillar and it takes us to Poseidon's lair. And yes, you'll notice that that screen was dark. There are going to be some dark screens that we're going to have to deal with where we can't see a darn thing. And it works a little bit differently in this game than it does from Zelda 2. We can actually see the enemies perfectly in this, but we cannot see the terrain. So for our next stretch here, we need to grab our flask and then deal with harpies and get our Orb of Gree. These birds and monkeys are all very, very obnoxious. The monkeys do 3 bars of damage, the birds do 4. The scorpions are kind and only do like 1/2 or like 1 damage. Oops, wow. Those fish are kind of random and they do 3 bars of damage, kind of a pain. The harp here stuns the harpy. Her hitbox is very obnoxious. It's like out in front of her. If you don't use the harp, it actually kind of stun locks you and makes it really hard to do. Here are the Gree. Very obnoxious Wizrobe kind of... Shoot. I might be dead here. Yep. That's fine. This is why we take the password so we can hit retry. Whoops. So as you see, we kept all of our olives instead of losing half of them. And we spawn back at Poseidon. We need the flask again. Whoop. Okay, we got better fish patterns this time, or I just reacted a little bit better. Harp here. Much better fight there. There's a death pit right there that I jump over that has certainly ended some runs. Oh, come on. Need one more. Orb. So that is the Orb of Gree, which reveals hidden passageways. We do a little bit of navigation to get out of the dark zone. And now let's get the heck out of Laconia so we can stop dealing with all of this pain. This area is extremely deadly for how early you face it. Left and right is pretty hilarious. It works basically like it does in Zelda 2. Okay, so we actually need to head over to Argolis, but we do have a little bit more olive farming to go. So we're gonna set up shop here and get our last 37 olives that we need for the Divine Sword. One, two, three, four, five, six. We're just gonna kind of hang out on the ceiling while they clump up for us. Thankfully, now that we have the sandals, it's a lot easier to get them in a clump like that. It makes it a lot easier to set up the farm. And hopefully, the slimes will be nice. So as you can imagine, a lot of the speedrun is getting the RNG on the stupid slimes. And they can be very rude and cause, like, reset chains non-stop. Or they can be really nice for the first 2 farms and then just absolutely be the worst on the 3rd. Eight more olives to go. Almost there. Four more. 2 more, come on. Orpheus, please, I believe in you. Get the olives. There we go. Unfortunately skipped over nice, but what are you gonna do? Head back to Argolis here. We have some business to take care of now. Now that we have this orb, we can reveal some hidden doorways. One thing I will also mention is that there are a lot of actually useful NPCs in this game that tell you hints on where to go and what you need to do and what items do and what you need to use items with. So a lot of the stuff that I'm doing might seem kind of arbitrary, but the NPCs do a really good job of leading you to figure out what you need to do. So here's our first fragment of love. Yeah. And I need to remember I'm not playing infinite olives %, so I can't just go here and take a death. Okay, and now that we've got our first fragment of love, we're going to play the harp at the Pillar of Sun here, and it's going to take us over to Attica. And we're going to grab a password from Athena here, which means we actually need to accept her item first. So you know that shield we have right now? Yeah, it actually physically does nothing. Now it actually theoretically does something. But the shield isn't that great in this game, so the only reason we're picking it up anyway is because we want the password. So now that we have our first fragment of love, this old man recognizes us as the hero and gives us this key that we'll need to get the second fragment of love. Get ready on the ocarina here, because we'll need it next. Wake up Gaia. Takes 5 hits. Ultimately, we're going to try and keep Gaia up here so that we don't have to chase them down. Here's Thea. Many death pits, many birds, many monkeys. Not a pleasant area. That bird was nice and dropped something for us, which means it won't respawn until we pick up that olive, so we'll just leave that olive there. I actually do want to take some hits here so I can take a death warp a little bit quicker. Salamander shield sucks. Even casually I avoid that, because it's just such a hassle to get. Alright, we're going to take some hits here. And here we go. Here's our Divine Sword, which does twice as much damage as our current sword, and for the cost of half a bar of health allows us to shoot lightning. See? It's really... oh. That's an intentional death here so we can get back to the beginning. We no longer care about olives, so we can hit continue instead of retry. So we're going to be starting to take advantage of some death warps here. Beep. Oh no, that's actually really bad. Alright. The placement of that bird was really bad, so we took an unintentional death there. But thankfully we don't care about olives anymore. Oh no. This is a little bit rough. Hopefully everything else cooperates. Alright, we're gonna actually take it a little safer there. make sure the bird gets away from us before we go for the monkey. Alright, somebody tells us that we need to jump into the top of the waterfall, and it's also told to us that we need to use the orb in here. Here's our second fairy. And our second fragment of love. And we're gonna go ahead and take another death warp here. Just really not feeling it today. Whoops. Alright, we need the harp next so that we can take Pegasus back to Laconia. That was a really bad bird pattern. And now we're going to be taking our dolphin friend over here to Crete, which is a much larger maze place that is not fun. If you're playing this game casually, I would highly recommend going into Crete with a map. Otherwise, you're just going to be kind of aimlessly wandering for quite some time. This guy's really excited to show us his axe, but we're just not in the mood to check it out yet. See ya, Talos! When you're going through doors, it actually keeps the momentum of the direction you were going, which is why I sometimes actually curve around the door to the long end. Alright, so here's the Minotaur that we're going to be fighting shortly here. We're going to try and keep it stun locked for 16 hits. Whew, okay. I sometimes have a really hard time setting up the Minotaur fight, so I'm really glad that went as smoothly as it did. Here's the third fragment of love. And with that, now that we have all three fragments of love, the door to Tartarus has opened, and we can actually go to endgame now. Just gonna kind of walk along the ceiling here to avoid most of that. And yeah, this place is terrible casually. So I guess while I have a moment, normally to shoot lightning with your sword, it takes the input of up B, but if you want to shoot lightning while you're crouching, you can hold down, press B, and then hit up very quickly. Also, yes, that Talos just totally walked on water. No big deal. Alright, so here's Tartarus. Left, left, right, left to get through the maze. NPCs tell us that. And here's Cerberus, whose health regenerates over time, which means you need to get a full chain of hits to actually finish him off. 16 straight hits with the Divine Sword will do the trick. With the way his health regenerates, part of the reason why the Divine Sword is so nice is that the Fairy Sword, without any other bonuses, takes about 1.5 minutes to kill Cerberus, and it's kind of ridiculous. Alright, so we hit another checkpoint here. Basically, every time you hear the music restart in this area, it's a checkpoint. This area is very generous with checkpoints. We're gonna... Yeah. Whoop. Oh my god. Am I seriously alive? I'm seriously alive. No! That's okay, there's a checkpoint literally on this screen. Ooh, spicy. I don't usually expect to make that jump. I'm expecting the bat to hit me. Another checkpoint here. And here's the final section of the game, Hades Temple. We're just going to take an intentional death right off the bat to refill our health. And off we go. Those jumps right there are a lot harder than they look. It's really easy to just get plinked by an arrow from Lamia, or get body checked by Lamia, in which case you'll have to run back, drop in the pit, and try again. We're gonna hang out on the stairs here so that we don't get knocked back down into this death pit that we're just climbing up from. Yeah, it's one of those games. Perfect. That jump right there is actually extremely easy to get clipped on and just fall into the pit. Stop on the third stair, don't forget it. Oof, that's not great. That's really not great. Shoot, am I dead? Yeah, I'm dead. That was not great. That was really not great. I can't believe I did that. That was a really foolish way to... Buh. Let's all just pretend that didn't happen, and we just somehow took like an extra minute to get here. And yeah, Lamia is the first boss that you have to fight in a casual playthrough or a 100% run, and she is brutal. Thank you, Shiner. It's really easy to go on tilt in Hades Temple, so trying not to let that silly death get to my head too much. I mean, what silly death? Stop on the third stair and go. Alright, so we're going to be fighting an invisible boss. Normally we have an item that reveals it to us, but we're going to use a bunch of crouching lightning. Which is part of why we need the flask here. Oop, okay, so he's swinging his sword over his head right now, so I'm gonna swing to send him back. "28 shots of lightning is all we need. And I'm not counting. Oops. There we go. And time. So, yeah, basically you're supposed to go all the way to Phrygia and get the Moon Pearl, and then you bring that back, and when you're fighting that boss, you use that to show the reflection of that boss in the water below. And it's a really cool fight when you do it that way, but thankfully with the crouching lightning trick, we can actually just kind of keep him at bay. Anyway, yeah, that's the Battle of Olympus. And like I mentioned earlier, this was basically made by a husband, a wife, and the River City Ransom composer, so that's like 3 names we're going to be seeing in the credits here. It's just kind of amazing that like they managed to put this together in a year. But this is kind of just like their nod to Zelda 2. Y Horimoto, Aroshida. Y Horimoto. etc. Yeah. And there's our composer, Keisawa. Thank y'all for having me. It was really great to be able to play these 2 games for y'all. With that, I think I'll go ahead and pass it back over for Ice Climber.